Hi moms, hi friends. I am following up with a video to just give a little bit more information about the things that we noticed early on with Tommy that gave us an idea that he may or may not have been experiencing some sensory issues. If you don't know me, I'm Tommy's mommy. I posted my first video last week and I am providing just basic information and some informative videos that don't have my face in them regarding autism and sensory issues. I'm doing laundry right now, so forgive me if I flash you some shirts or whatever I'm folding. I did want to do a follow-up video because there is questions that I get asked a lot, and it's what made me realize that something was going on with Tommy that made us seek help. For Tommy, his autism diagnosis came late. It wasn't until we were already in the US and we had seen a pediatrician who noticed right off the bat that something was going on because he wasn't responding to his name. Now, when it comes to what we noticed before he turned a year, before he started walking, before he started, making baby noises, the early days of our own personal diagnosis of what may or may not be wrong was when we were in Congo. Now, from an early age, kids start to respond to the sound of their parents' voices. They should react. You call their name and they should turn around and look at you, give you some kind of an acknowledgement. And that was one of those things that we noticed from the get-go that Tommy wasn't doing. We would call his name, his nicknames. We had a lot of names for him. But he wouldn't respond. He wouldn't give us eye contact. It was just like he would continue on busy with whatever it was that he was doing. His mimicking behavior, he would mimic sounds. We had a friend, Uncle Hitesh, shout out, who would make this really high-pitched screeching noise, and Tommy would mimic that. Tommy wouldn't vocalize mama, dada. He would just say mama, 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 da, 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 da. Which we thought was super cute, but it wasn't mama and it wasn't dada. And we did address all of these things early on with the pediatrician and say, hey, you know what? He's not vocalizing. He's not saying mama. He's not saying dada. He's not, developing any language. He's also not moving around as much as he should. He's not responding when we call his name. He has a really, really high, like crazy high pain tolerance. He would roll over, he would fall, he would hurt himself, and he just would continue on going about his day. These kinds of things that we were just like, this kid should be crying. This kid should be, mama, daddying, just basics, okay? When he learned how to walk, it took him some time. But we noticed right away from when he started to stand that he would tippy toe. He was constantly on his tippy toes. He's 3 years old and he still tippy toes. But this was a big thing because we would put him in those baby walkers and he was always tippy toeing. And then when he actually started to walk independently, he was still tippy toeing. Quick question. Does anybody else love fuzzy hospital socks more than I do? Because I find these incredibly comfortable and I own like a dozen pairs. The way to a woman's heart isn't through chocolates, it's through comfy socks. It's just admit me to the hospital. Sorry, I digress. But the tippy toeing thing was a big concern for me because I was like, that he can't be walking like that. We were inside of the house a lot because where we lived, it was completely on lockdown for about 3 months. Couldn't leave the house. We couldn't take Tommy outside. So he didn't wear shoes often. Um, so in this time period, he was always barefoot or with just socks on, and he was constantly on his tippy toes. He would just walk and run around on his tippy toes, and it drove me nuts. I brought this up to the pediatrician, and it was always, it's normal. It's normal. He'll stop doing it. He just, there's something, like he doesn't like the sensation. Whatever it was, it wasn't being acknowledged. Um, when we started to put shoes on him, he didn't like shoes. He would take them off. He would still try and tippy toe in them. It made it more difficult, of course, because we put him in kind of like high top sneakers. But the tippy toeing was a big issue. Backwards walking was a big issue. He would, not pay attention. He would go forward and then he'd go backwards. He wouldn't pay attention to where he was walking, and still to this day he will blindly walk. He just walks around staring into outer space, and he is not giving his full attention to, like, I'm stepping, I need to be conscious of where I'm stepping, and he falls over a lot. The only time that he really does pay attention, though, is when he's climbing. I mentioned this in the previous video, but his dad taught him to climb things very young. And I don't mean like just like little like climbing. No, I mean like this kid can climb onto a sofa and like scale the ledge of the back of the sofa and then climb back down. He tries to climb on top of speakers. He climbs in and out of his bed. He is going to be a stuntman at some point in his future life. But that's the only time that he's like actually really, really engaged in what he's doing, because he's focusing on like not falling over. But then again, when he does fall, he has he doesn't experience pain. Like, he doesn't cry if he hurts himself. It's not to the point, until he reaches the point where he's bleeding, is he crying, because like that is how much pain he has to be in. Like, he'll bump his head and he's perfectly fine, and we're just like, that's just, where is your pain? But those were the early acknowledgments for there was something different. To this day, as I mentioned, he doesn't acknowledge us most of the time. We come home, we talk to him, and he's tuning us out. We did realize that he did have a hearing issue early on. We had to put tubes in his ears. He did fail the hearing test, and I still think to this day he can't hear with the tubes in his ears, but it did make a difference afterwards. It's not like he's talking like he's got a full vocabulary, no, but he did start to make a lot more sounds, so the tubes did help. Oh, excuse me. What else? The hand flapping, that's a basic one. I think most kids with sensory issues do the hand flapping. And that's just a stimulation. That's what we call stimming. It's just a form of excitement. Either they're happy, they're scared. There's something going around them that is causing them to be sensitive to it, that they're excited about or scared of. If you see a kid stimming, it's usually just they're expressing themselves in some way. Stimming is a big thing. Kids who stim, Tommy mouths a lot. He puts everything in his mouth, and I mean everything. We would go to the beach practically every week in Congo, and we could not get him to stop eating sand. He picks up like leaves from the ground, he puts them in his mouth. Cars, he puts them in his mouth. He's a constant mouther. We've tried the teething sticks, those don't work. These are stimmings. These are things that help make them feel better. It helps engage their jaw. Because he's nonverbal, he doesn't engage his mouth a lot because he doesn't speak as much as we do. That's one thing. Kids who when he picks up something and he feels the need to throw it, he'll throw it. That is to stimulate muscles that he's not using. Like, we talk with our hands, we do a lot of gestures. He has sensory needs. So since we were little, we would give him little pressure massages. He loves to have his arms and legs and back and little whole body squeezed. Food sensitivity. that was one of the big issues that we still deal with to this day. But when we started feeding him solids, he didn't he would refuse most things. He loves eggs, he loves omelets. He can eat almost every day. We'll make him either the spinach omelet or the hash brown omelet, and he loves those. He loves pancakes. I mean, what kid doesn't love pancakes? But I make his usually with either chocolate chips or raisins or a combination of the both. He will eat rice with some shredded chicken in it, rice and beans, and I don't, he, not plain rice. He does not like plain rice. Excuse me. I make him Spanish rice. And this is how I trick him into eating veggies, because he has a sensitivity to sound and like crunchy textures. So carrots, celery, cucumbers, all those vegetables are out the door when it comes to like him eating it or being around it. Like it grosses him out. He won't eat pears, he won't eat apples. It's just a thing. So with his rice, I put carrots in it. I usually small, tiny pieces that he can't see. Carrots in it, tomatoes, onions, peas, corn. That's his veggie intake. So we'll do that. He loves beans. So when I make beans, or if we're out eating Mexican food, he'll eat the rice and beans at the restaurant. It does take us some time. Ground beef. He's kind of off of ground beef right now for some reason, but I put the veggies in there as well, just to keep him, you know, with some vitamins, some vegetable intake. Otherwise, it's fish sticks and French fries or tater tots. When he gets sick, it's impossible to get him to eat anything. When we had COVID, the whole family had COVID as a gang, and he completely stopped eating. The only thing that we were able to continue to get him to intake daily was those Pediasures, the miniature ones. They're about 9 grams of protein in each bottle. They have like vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin A, you know, the whole list of vitamins. But that's what kept him going. He went like a week and a half without eating, and his feet turned blue, and he had fevers every day, and he was sleeping like 15 hours a day. It was insane. But at the end, he did start to eat a lot more, but COVID was really bad. And anytime he gets sick, whether it be like a basic cold, ear infections, we know that something's happening, because he just won't eat anything at all. When it comes down to food sensitivities, if you're out in public, and whether you have a child with sensory issues or not, and you see parents struggling to get their kids to eat something, this could be a sensory based issue. And it's hard enough for us to get Tommy to take a first bite of something that we know he's going to like, or something that he knows he likes already, but it's been a while since he's had it, so he has to get that initial bite to taste and savor, and then eat it independently on his own. That first step to getting him to eat that when we're out in public, it's hard. We struggle, because we kind of have to maneuver around him to get him to take that first bite, and we get stares, and people do look at us ugly, but it's the only way that we can get him to eat outside of the home, and then he will self-feed afterwards. But be nice. We've never had anybody come up to us and say anything horrible, but we do get ugly looks, and we know it's hard. Children with sensory issues who have these kinds of reactions, whether it be food sensitivity, they throw things, they make loud noises, they don't know, boundaries. They need to be engaged in something in order to eat, whatever it is. These are kids that this is how they live, and we do therapies, and we do our absolute best to help them overcome these issues, but we're not perfect, and neither are they, and sometimes we regress, and sometimes we have a bad day or a bad week, or you're sick or whatever, and you just want your kid to eat. You just want your kid to, be out at a restaurant with you and enjoy food as a family, and they're crying in the background and you're just doing your best to maintain their emotions and let them be themselves. So be nice, because you never really know. I'm the first one to say, like, I've judged people in the past, but I am learning to be nicer, because you just really never know what that family is experiencing. Um, what's another issue? Because it's there's a lot of different things that children experience in the early stages that we kind of overlook, but aggressive issues. There are kids out there who are nonverbal or who have limited language, and they don't know how to express themselves, and they become aggressive, or they just, that's their way of stimming, is they have to push and they feel the need to like squeeze, or because they have to mouth, they bite. They're not bad kids. I mean, some kids are bad kids because they're just not being told no, but sometimes it's just their way of releasing that stimulation, of getting that squeeze out of them. Sometimes you just have to hold them and squeeze them to get that sense of pressure. But these kids are also experiencing the sensitivity, like the need to be engaged, the need to squeeze, the need to throw, the need to push. And we're either not meeting that, or they're just trying to express themselves. And if you know family members, talk to them about it, because I've been at family parties where my son Tommy and my nephew are in their own little world off to the side, and the aunts are in the background talking smack. I wanted to say another word, but they're talking badly. And, oh, they should teach them manners, or, oh, those kids aren't being raised right, or, oh, whatever it is. And I have to turn around and I have to say, I know you know this. I know you know this, especially the one that's an educator herself. I know you know these children are different. I need you to be nice, because what they're doing, they're playing in their own. My kid's eating my kid's eating potting soil. Great. Why? Because he has to mouth. Am I going to stop him? Yes. But is he going to stop? No. I have to redirect him into something else. My other nephew is, I don't know, he's spinning in the grass and then he's rolling around in it. Is he a dirty kid? Absolutely not. Actually, he doesn't like to have dirt on his hands, but he's doing it because that's his way of expressing himself. He's not a bad kid. He's not uneducated. He's not unmannered. It's just the way that they stimulate. And you should learn to, it's not about respecting your elders. It's about putting people and educating them in their place. If you see that they aren't saying anything nice about something that they understand, they're just choosing not to understand, you can put a stop to it. And don't feel bad about it, because at the end of the day, again, you're being an advocate for your child, and you're the only person who will stand up and protect your child at the end of the day. Feel the need to fight for them. And as I mentioned before, whether it be with the pediatricians, if you feel like your needs aren't being met with your pediatricians, with your caregivers, with your therapists, with your family, whatever it is, advocate for your child. Make sure that the voice that they don't have is being heard, because we understand better as parents how our child expresses himself, because we spend more time with them on a daily basis. So when they're hurt, when they're not feeling well, when you notice that their face is changing to their little sicky face or whatever, you know that it's time to step up or step in or talk to someone about it. Don't feel ashamed. Like I said in my last video, you're a parent, you're a human, your child is a person, and they have needs that need to be met, and it's your job to fight for it. But my laundry's done, and it's almost time to go pick up Tommy. So I'm going to end the video here, and hopefully I'll have another update for you next week. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to talk about. These videos are really long, and I'm going to try and cut them shorter. I know I linger and I lose my thoughts, but I try and multitask and get things done while I talk. Um, but yeah, let me know in the comments what it is that you want to hear about. If you have questions, I am gonna be having a best friend of ours come and talk one of these days. He was a teacher of special needs students and students with autism. So he has a lot of insights as to things that help him communicate with kids, steps that he learns on, redirection or whatever it is. So he's going to come and talk to us one of these days over a cup of coffee. And I'll upload that hopefully soon. But yeah, talk to you soon.